Hello friends, welcome back to Spiritual Morsels. Last week in the previous episode, we saw about the life of Elijah and we saw how Elijah got afraid of Jezebel's letter and he ran away from Israel. The question today is, where was he running to? Was he randomly running to any random place to save his life, or did he have a destination? Was he having a purpose behind running away? You see, if today when we go to some place, what we do is we take our phone and we open the GPS and we put our destination as our location, and we make sure that we follow the route shown by the GPS to the dot. We don't turn to the left or to the right. Why? Because we have a desire that we want to reach the destination. And if you look into the life of Elijah in 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 3 onwards, over there it says Elijah was afraid and ran for his life when he came to Beersheba in Judah. He left his servant there. If you read further, you see a pattern in the way he was running. It looks like Elijah had a destination in his mind. He had a GPS set in his mind and he had put the location and he was following the route to the dot. In verse 3, it says Elijah came to Beersheba in Judah. Now, to understand this, we need to have a basic idea about the geography of that place. So I would just like to explain a little of the geography so we can understand what was happening in Elijah's life. Now see, Israel was the northern country and Judah was the southern country. This country was divided into two, we know, during the reign of Rehoboam, the son of Solomon. And so Elijah, Ahab and Jezebel, they were all living in the city of Jezreel in the northern country, Israel. Verse 3 says, Elijah ran and escaped from Israel and went to Beersheba in Judah. Judah is the southern country and Beersheba is way down south. It's a southernmost city of Judah. You must have heard Dan to Beersheba, Dan to Beersheba. A couple of times we read that in the Bible, in the book of Judges and the book of 1 Samuel. This is to show Dan was the northernmost city of the northern country and Beersheba was the southernmost city of the southern country. So this is to show that, the entire Israel, that was the way they mentioned the entire Israel just by saying Dan to Beersheba. So Beersheba was the southernmost city or southernmost town in the southern country of Judah. So he escapes from Israel, goes to Beersheba, which is a distance of 160 kilometers. He leaves his servant there in safety because now he knows Jezebel is not going to cross the border of Israel in pursuit of Elijah's servant. So he leaves his servant in a safe place, but he himself goes further down from Beersheba. If you go further down from Beersheba in Judah, you enter into the wilderness of Judea. Now, wilderness of Judea is a vast desert, and my question is, Elijah, why are you going into the desert? Where are you going? He goes a day's journey into the desert, and it says he finds a broom tree or a juniper tree. And now this broom tree is not a big tree, it's just a small shrub. He falls flat under the tree and he says, Lord, it's enough. Take my life. He is exhausted. You see, brothers and sisters, if you remember, last week we saw that when he was on Mount Carmel, he brought fire down from heaven on Mount Carmel, but the entire day he didn't eat anything. After he brought fire down from heaven, he goes and tells Ahab, you better go and eat something because I hear the sound of rain. But he, instead of eating, he goes to pray. So he did not eat anything the entire day. After prayer, when he sees the cloud, he rises up and runs to Jezreel from Mount Carmel, which is a distance of 35 to 40 kilometers. He runs that entire distance without eating anything. When he reaches there, he gets his threat letter from Jezebel saying, I'm going to kill you tomorrow. And so he gets up, runs away from Israel and runs all the way to Beersheba, which is a distance of 160 kilometers from Jezreel to Beersheba in Judah. And then from there, he goes a 1 day's journey into the desert. You see, walking in the desert is not fun. If you ask the people who live in the Gulf countries, they'll tell you. And not just that, the Judean desert had hills and valleys in it. So walking through that terrain for one entire day is not fun. Elijah is exhausted. He's hungry, he's thirsty, and he's tired. And so finally, when he's under the tree, he's like, Lord, take my life. You see, there was a time when I used to think that Elijah is saying this because he's under depression now, because of all the anxiety and worry that he's going through, and he's now suicidal. But the truth is, it's just that he was physically exhausted. He was a man of God, and he knew who his God was. He knew where he was going. There was a purpose behind his travel, behind his running away to this particular destination. And so he's out of that weakness in his body. You see, when our body is exhausted, when our body is tired, it affects our mind, it affects our emotions. And that's what happened to Elijah. The Bible says in the New Testament that Elijah was a man just like us. So he's exhausted, and so because of that emotional and mental and physical tiredness, he's saying, Lord, it's enough, take my life. And he falls asleep. And you know what happens? The angel of the Lord comes down. And what does the angel do? The angel wakes him up and gives him food. The primary need of Elijah at that point was hunger. And so the angel gives him fresh baked bread and water. And Elijah eats the food and drinks the water and goes back to sleep because he's so tired. Does the angel stop him from sleeping? No, the angel lets him sleep. And after some time, the angel comes back again with food, wakes him up again, gives him food, and then tells him something. He says, eat, for the journey is too much for you. The angel says in such a way that the angel knows his destination. Angel knows where he's going. The angel knows that this man has decided to go somewhere where it is too far away and the journey is too much for you. And so you need this divine food. You need divine strength. And so he eats that food, and then for 40 days and 40 nights, he walks through the desert of Judea, crosses the desert, and he reaches his destination, which is Mount Horeb or Mount Sinai. Mount Horeb is the same Mount Sinai, which is called as the mountain of God. Now, do you see why Elijah was running away? I was thinking, Elijah, you could have just gone to Jerusalem, because Jerusalem is on the way to Beersheba. It's not even that far away. It's just very close by to Beersheba. As soon as you enter Judea, Jerusalem comes on the way. You could have just gone to the temple in Jerusalem. The entire Israel goes there to pray. You would have gone there earlier. But Elijah is like, no. I'm not happy with my previous experience. I don't want to go there. I don't want to sacrifice and hear from a priest. I don't want to listen from a Levite. I want to hear God directly, and I want a personal face-to-face encounter with Him. Because this mountain is the very same mountain, Mount Sinai, where God had come down from heaven and talked face-to-face with Moses. This is the very same place where God came down, talked to Moses, and gave him the law for the Israelites. And so Elijah is like, I want that personal touch. I want that personal encounter. Enough of all my past experiences. And so he runs for a personal encounter with the Lord. That's the reason he goes to Mount Horeb. My dear brothers and sisters, do you know the amount of strain that he had to go through just to have that personal encounter with the Lord? It shows his hunger, it shows his thirst. Mount Sinai is believed to be the mountain Jabal Musa in Egypt today. So from the point where Elijah was to Jabal Musa is 420 kilometers. And there are some scholars, like very lately, for the last 4 or 6 years, some Bible scholars believe that Jabal Musa is not the right Mount Sinai. The actual Mount Sinai is Jabal al-Lawz, another mountain in Saudi Arabia. If they are correct, if they are right, then the distance from where Elijah was to Jabal al-Lawz in Saudi Arabia is 392 kilometers. Whether that be Mount Sinai or whether this be Mount Sinai, this man walked a long distance Why? Because he was hungering, thirsting for a personal encounter with the Lord. He said, I want to see the Lord face to face, and I need to tell him what I'm going through, and I want to hear from him what I should do in the future. Was he afraid of Jezebel and that's why he ran away? Is it because he could not live in Israel any longer? No, because after this personal encounter, he goes back to Israel. He spends the rest of his life in Israel. He does the rest of his ministry in Israel. So it was not because he was afraid to live in Israel, but he knew that to face this kind of a demon, I need a personal encounter with the Lord. And so he goes and he gets what he wanted. When he reaches there, the Lord sees his hunger, the Lord sees his thirst, and the Lord himself comes down on that mountain. The Lord has a face-to-face conversation with him. The Lord tells him what to do in the future. The Lord directs him for his ministry. Not just that, God gives him a companion. Isn't it beautiful? God tells him that now Elijah, go to Abel Maloha and anoint Elisha the son of Shaphat as your personal assistant. He is to follow you and he is to be the next prophet after you. And if you notice, from that point, Elijah had a faithful companion in his life, which he lacked before that. Elijah was a lonely man. If you see his ministry before that, you see the entire Israel was with him. They stood with him when he brought fire down from heaven. But the moment Jezebel threatens him, not a single person stood with him. He was a lonely man. But from the moment God pointed Elisha to him, from the moment Elisha came into his life, in 2 Kings it says about Elisha, the man who poured water on the hands of Elijah, which means the man who was faithful to Elijah and stood by him till the last minute. And that's exactly what Elisha did. We know that there was a time when Elijah told him, please stay here, don't come with me. But Elisha was like, no, I'm not going to leave you. And he did not leave Elijah till the last moment. Dear brothers and sisters, do you see how God took care of his emotional needs too? God took care of his physical needs, emotional needs, his spiritual needs. God gave him a divine, clear guidance on what kind of ministry he is to do going forward. So dear brothers and sisters, I just want to encourage you, when we face these kind of situations where we are emotionally and mentally drained, it's better to run to the Lord than to run to people for help. You know, Elijah went for a personal encounter. Sometimes we just have to go to his presence, run to his presence and say, Lord, I cannot go on like this. I don't want any more of past experiences. I want a fresh touch from you. I want a fresh anointing from you. I want to hear from you personally. You need to give me a clear guidance. And let me tell you, the Lord will talk to you. The Lord will guide you. The Lord will lead you forward. He will even show you whom to keep close to you and who to stay away from. He is such a good God. He is our loving Abba Father. And so once again, I want to encourage you. Anytime you face such a crisis, run to the Lord, seek his presence. Tell him, Abba, I'm not going to get up from here till you speak to me. And he will speak to you. God bless you.